Great googly moogly. This is going to be one of those episodes. This is going to be one of those things where everything that could go wrong will go wrong. By the way, I'm like ready to bolt out the door because Wreckfest, I got my flight leaves in a couple hours. So I got to get this done and get out the door. Brian has already told me he's got some issues he's dealing with at home, technical and whatnot. So we'll see how this goes. I'm prepared to vamp for a couple of minutes. I thank you for letting me hang out late and chill with y'all. And okay, and now Brian's having issues here. Here he comes. Here he comes. There's Brian.
Coming in hot. What's going on, party people?
All of us. Don't worry. It wasn't just you. It was LinkedIn Live was not going to let me hit the go live button until I rebooted everything and reset all the settings and did the little dance. And, it was fantastic.
Get down tonight.
Exactly.
Do a little dance.
There we go.
Make a little love.
Source of a few candidates. There we go. All right, so here's the deal. As per usual, if you saw not last week's, 2 weeks ago with Rocky Howard, this is kind of a weird thing where I don't like webinars because webinars are boring and they're filled with garbage and they put you to sleep and people eat their lunch during it and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Instead, we're going to have... It's so bad. It's so bad. And so instead, we're going to have what I think of as 2 dueling TED Talks. I brought some wonderful people. This week, it's Brian Fink, who I'm sure you know. Who doesn't know Brian? To talk for 20 minutes about something. And guess what? It's going to be sourcing and it's going to be AI. And then I'm going to talk for 15 minutes about what he talked about to kind of connect it to employer brand. So Brian, I know we're coming in hot. We're doing this crazy. Do you want your slides up? You can share your screen. You can do it. I'm going to pull away once we're ready to rock and roll. How do you want to play this?
All right. So I'm going to share some slides. So real quick, party people, everybody in the chat, everybody on the LinkedIn Live, you got to let us know that you're here and that you're ready to have some fun. I put some maple syrup in my hair. I'm ready to go. James is getting ready to head out to Wreckfest. I want to shout out Wreckfest real quick. We're going to do a little mixture of slides. We're going to do a little mixture of freelancing. We're going to do a little bit of freestyling, profiling, getting on the groove. All right. So I'm going to share my screen and
I'm going to pull myself out.
Woo! There we go. All right.
Infinite Brians.
So real quick, does everybody see Are You Perplexed?
Yes.
All right. So look, real quick, everybody, a lot of what we're going to do here today is going to be free because free is my favorite 4-letter word that begins with an F. Get your mind out of the gutter or get ready to jam in the gutter, in the sewer, and get this thing started. All right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing specifically with Perplexity. Now, I know that for some people, they say, well, Perplexity is $20 a month. You can get Perplexity for free as a benefit if you use Venmo. I don't know anybody on the planet who doesn't use Venmo, but that's besides the point. So real quick, let's get this kicked off. We got 3 things that we're going to jump into today. We're going to talk about the core 4 ethos, what I think is important for you to be a successful recruiter, sourcer, talent advisor, talent analyst in 2026 and beyond. Then we're going to jump to that beyond section about what you'll need to succeed today and tomorrow. And then we're going to prompt LinkedIn. I know we're going to go a little bit of inception is that we're going to use Perplexity on LinkedIn to bring back results on LinkedIn so we don't have to get charged those exorbitant fees by LinkedIn. Woo-hoo! All right. So 2025, it's almost over. What stays the same? Our curiosity, our empathy, our tenacity, and our mischievousness. What changes? None of the above. So yeah, it's me. Here's a brief bio. James already gave this. I've been a recruiter for 20-something years. I've worked with organizations like Apple, AWS. I've helped Fortune 500 companies go and grow. I've been at companies doing turnarounds like at Twitter. I've worked with founders, and I'm working with you. One other thing about working with you, I do not have it on this slide, but if we go a little too fast, if we get a little too crazy, or you're like, I got a question for Brian or James, I hold office hours every Friday from 12 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. Does it cost anything to attend? No, it's just 30 minutes, you and me, one-on-one, tackling your toughest recruiting and hiring problems, right? So let's get started. The core 4 ethos. I like to believe that these 4 gentlemen, sorry about this phone ringing. I apologize. I don't know how to turn it off. That's turned off. All right. Now, the core four ethos. These four gentlemen have shaped my recruiting journey, and they're going to shape yours. We got on the left, we got Steve Fink. We got Steve Rath from Apple, who you guys are going to be hanging out with at RecFest. You got Steve Levy, who's going to be hosting a tent at RecFest. And then you got Steve Jobs, who's built this huge ecosystem, which I call the Apple ecosystem. Now, as we talk about this ecosystem, we talk about what we're building. I've already talked about curiosity, empathy, tenacity, and mischievousness. What do those four things mean? Curiosity. You're going to ask deep questions. You're going to prompt your browser every day to get deeper into what is the future of recruiting. Empathy. You are going to lead with empathy. You are going to work with people to take them from better to best, and you're going to expect for them always to show up, but maybe they don't show up as their best self. You're going to show up as your best self, and you're going to give them your all. Tenacity, about giving your all. Steve Fink, the guy on the left-hand side, he would tell you that it's not enough to just be the best. You got to be plus one of the best, right? So you got to do one more. And then mischievousness, that goes all to Steve Levy and to Steve Jobs. You got to take everything that you bundled up together and that you know how to do, and you've got to do it a little bit differently so you buffer and bust the status quo. So how is this going to guide us in 2026? What you're going to need to succeed today and tomorrow. LLMs. Now, real quick, I'm going to break this down. There are 5 major LLMs that people use, or generative AI tools. You've got ChatGPT, you've got Anthropic's Claude, you have Grok, you have Gemini, and you have Perplexity. And then you have something mischievous. And we're going to get into that mischievous thing in a minute. I want you to index on the word free, F-R-E-E, because I'm going to show you how to get around the paywalls that go with all these bad boys. So let's talk about Boolean and natural language search. Boolean is what we put into site command : linkedin.com/in, so we can see only results from LinkedIn. Natural language search is, I say, show me the best employee branding experts in the world, and up comes James Ellis, right? So let's get into LinkedIn. We're going to get nasty. Real quick, if you want to open up a browser, we're going to do some nasty things in LinkedIn. We're going to do some things that you're going to say, Brian, that's going to get me kicked out. It's not going to get you kicked out. It's going to make you want to shout, shout, shout. All right. So we used to search like this. There were 32 words that we could use on Google to get us exactly what we wanted. So on Google, and you might want to screenshot this, these are the terminologies, the keyword, I mean, not the keywords, these are the terms that you can use to make Google do some pretty performative things for you. Now, as we get into this, I said that we were going to go and we were going to look for people on LinkedIn, but we're not going to go on LinkedIn and do it. We're going to do it in Google. We're going to go site command that says, yo, Google, I only want you to look at linkedin.com. And we're going to put the in so that we can look only at profiles, not jobs, not company pages or anything like that. Open parentheses, we're going to look for a product manager. I'm going to put that in quotes, or a UX manager. I'm going to put that in quotes, saying I specifically need to see that terminology. And then I'm going to put San Francisco in quotes. And voila, there are all these beautiful LinkedIn profiles that I can click into that I didn't have to have LinkedIn Recruiter or LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn. Well, I'm not going to bash LinkedIn. I'm just telling you can do this without LinkedIn. But then there's Perplexity. Perplexity. What are we doing with Perplexity, right? I'm going to pop up a little Brian there so you can see me on the screen. What are we doing with Perplexity? We're going to get awesome. We're going to get nasty. We're going to use natural language search, where we're going to tell Perplexity, hey, find me 25 LinkedIn profiles. You could do 50, you could do 100, you could do 500. It's just going to take you a while to get it done. Find me 25 LinkedIn profiles of product managers in San Francisco. There we go. I got a list of 25 LinkedIn profiles, and they got a link to each one of the profiles there on the page inside of Perplexity. Easy peasy. But what about prompts? Because prompts and natural language search, that's really the name of the game. That's what we're doing. That's what we're looking for. That's how we're digging deeper. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Find me 25 AI engineers with experience shipping production level models in the last 18 months at Series B or later startups. Exclude anyone with less than 4 years. Okay, that's 32 words. Google would have kicked this out. With less than 4 years of experience who's currently at a FANG company. Let's get nasty. Well, there we go. We got 25 people who are shipping production level code. It's going in, it's referencing what they're talking about. It's really getting into the nitty gritty of who we are, tells us what their contributions are, the type of level code that they've delivered for us, and the experience that they've given us. Now, notice we can export all this contact info and LinkedIn profiles for these engineers. How nasty is that? Export contact info and LinkedIn profiles for shortlisted engineers. So there we go. We got the 25 people, we got their contact information, we got their LinkedIn profiles. We got a very nice and neat database. Take that, ZoomInfo. I hope ZoomInfo is not a sponsor of this. I apologize. ZoomInfo, if you're a sponsor, I didn't mean anything negative. Now, I want to do the same thing, but I don't want to use LinkedIn. I want to go on GitHub. So find me GitHub repos. Those are code repositories tied to the top AI engineers in the greater Seattle area with more than 100 commits. And I want them to have a README file or text file that possesses their resume. Because it's great to see code, but at the end of the day, recruiters, we need phone numbers, we need email addresses. That's what we need. Well, there we go. We got Patrick Ellis, we got Alyssa Wynn. Thanks for giving that to me. It cross-referenced it against 28 different sources. Awesome sauce. Speaking of that sauce, export the repo list to CSV with the repo URL, the owner, and the commits. There we go. We got the data that we can upload into our ATS, our CRM, or our messaging platform like a Hire EZ or a Pen. There we go. There's a CSV. It's ready for you. Go and download it. Now, I know that everybody on this call is not as passionate about finding technologists as I am. So instead, let's switch the script a little bit, flip it around, and find Slack channels tied to the top SaaS sales pros, right? Bingo, we got all the research that it's done about leading SaaS Slack channels. It lets us know how many members are in each group and how active people are and what it's specifically for. Online Geniuses, marketing and sales. It's free to go there. I know that's where James is headed next, so he can be part of that marketing community of 30,000 people to get his content out and in their face. Now, what about resumes? Because I like resumes. I've already told you, I'm gaga for resumes, right? Oh, la, 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 la. Who's gaga, ga? What about resumes? Find me PDF resumes of software engineers who have experience using Kubernetes and LangChain. So I'm going out to the web and it brings me back all these resumes, whether it's from their WordPress website, whether it's from their LinkedIn embed, whether it's from Squarespace, all these different places we can go and grow. And there we go. We clicked on Shreyas and we've got Shreyas's resume. I know what you're thinking though. You're like, Brian, I don't have time to go through and open up all these resumes. James is going to have me back and I'm going to show you how to do that in less than 15 seconds. Or you could do it the old school way and do the file type, PDF, resume, software engineer, Kubernetes, LangChain. But you're thinking to yourself, Brian, I'm looking at Arian and I know that's a resume and that's what I'm looking for, but I don't have time to harvest all that. That's where you're going to go and you're going to get the Perplexity Comet browser. How much does the Comet browser cost? It's free, or I wouldn't be bringing it up on this call. Now, I said we were going to get mischievous. James, I'm looking at the clock. I know I only got like 3 minutes left. In those 3 minutes, I'm going to blow everybody's mind. I want to encourage you to head over to lmarena.ai. Now, what is lmarena.ai? It gives you the opportunity to use all of these AIs, all these generative AI solutions, whether it's Google, DeepSeek, Grok, Marcel, Llama, Anthropic. It gives you the opportunity to use all the models for free for you to figure out which one is the best one for you to purchase. But here's the deal. There's no limit to how far you can go, and there's no limit as to how many tests you can run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out the top. You've got on the left-hand side, you got the word battle, and that'll set up perimeters for how you want, for like what AIs you want to have compete. But real quick, we're going to go in and we're going to say, find me engineers who worked at a Series B startup and attended a top 20 university, right? Assistant A and Assistant B. So here's what comes up. And then it gives me an answer for Assistant A and Assistant B. Assistant A gave me all this information. It gave me LinkedIn profiles. It told me how much funding each person had raised, where they had worked, what their notable achievements were. And then Assistant B told me how to do the search on Google, which honestly, that was a waste of my time because I don't want to search on Google. I want you to just give me the goodies for free. So which one was better, Assistant A or Assistant B? I'm going with A. And A is a search engine or an LLM called Acadia. And option B was ChatGPT. What the hell is Acadia? I've never heard of Acadia. I've never used Acadia until just this moment. But let's go back into that battle section and go side by side. So we can compare, we can choose which LLMs we want to have compare. And I'm going to choose Grok, which is $40 a month if you choose Grok, right? If you're paying for it, or Mistral, which is $18 a month if you're paying for it. But instead, we ain't paying for shit. All right. Sorry, this is an adult program. I know I've used the word shit and hell. I apologize to my mother if you're watching. Hi, Mom. All right. So I had Grok and I had Mistral, and I had them give me in side-by-side comparison what is and what isn't available. That's it. That's all I got. I'm Brian. I hope we were mischievous. I hope we were curious. I hope we were empathetic, and I hope we were tenacious. James, I'm gonna say let's rock and roll. Let's come back to let's stop sharing. Let's come back to James and Brian. James, are you not entertained?
I was very entertained and informed, maybe even just a little bit inspired. I think that I hadn't heard of that last tool till you brought it up, so I thought that was a great addition.
James,
also we're gonna go broke on all the licensing fees for all the lyrics you keep bringing up, so you've busted us all.
Okay, all right. So real quick, James, you would not have called me to be on your program if I wasn't going to give a little extra, right? I talked about Steve Fink, my dad, about giving one extra. That was the one extra. We were just supposed to go Perplexity, but I had to get mischievous. I'm sorry. That's a Steve Levy thing.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's not just a Steve Levy thing. It's a Brian Fink thing. There's no question. Okay, so let me take what you had, and I want to take another step or kind of a pivot in another direction. What I saw, because you did share this slide with me last night, so I did kind of look at it and skim. So I did see what was coming. I saw a name, and I was like, okay, let's do that. Instead of saying, Brian's going to focus on how do I find these people and how do I reach these people, I'm going to focus on, okay, now that you know who you're talking to, what then? How can you use these tools to better engage? Now, my feeling is so much of sourcing and so much of talent acquisition has been based on the idea of let's spam the bejesus out of everything that moves and hope for the best. And if you can find an email address, you will use it and you will beat them up with it. And let's be fair, that's not working. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. You're only making the internet worse, so don't do it. And I know that most of you have stopped and you've learned that this is a bad idea. And I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking in the broad scheme of things. My feeling is sourcers and recruiters on this meeting are the top 5%. We know better. And the world is filled with the other 95% who seem to not. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. But I was like, look, here's the deal. In a perfect world, a sourcer should spend an hour thinking about one human being, but know that it is the right human being. It is the person who brings the skill set to bear. It's not talking to 20 people. It's not talking to persona. It's about that's the person I want to reach. And if you spend an hour and you have a 40% success rate, is that better than talking to 10 or 100 people and having a 5 and 2 and 1% success rate? And aren't you just kind of casting the net wide and saying, I hope someone will show up and it's not really the person you really want to talk to, but the one who just happened to be there. And I don't think that's what your hiring managers want. I don't think that's what the business wants. I think if you focus on one person at a time, you will do amazing stuff. So now it's my turn to share my screen. And I'm going to find my screen, and there's my
James, just real
okay,
quick,
so here's what we're going to do.
On the token of what you just said, I want to be clear, and I want to add something to it, is that I routinely have a 23% response rate on email. If I send out 100
you're the best.
But if I sent out 100 emails and spoke to 23 people in a week, I would get nothing done.
Yeah. That's why if you narrow your aperture and you're using these AI tools to help you narrow your aperture and say, I just want to talk to the one or two people who are perfect. I want to talk to the one or two people who I know are fantastic. And I think really what your tools are showing us are exactly that. How to go find great people, and then you use your big old brain, and then you use some LLM and use some other tools to kind of say, okay, of those 20 people I found, you found a list of 25 product managers or whatever. Who are the 3 I really should talk to? Or you're going to skim them and skim their profiles and say, that's the person who has the right kind of experience, or that person's already connected to someone in the business, or whatever that thing is that says, okay, this is where I'm going to spend my time. And so if you're going to target someone, what would you do with that time? Now, am I being Pollyanna-ish about it? Perhaps. I don't source, and maybe I'm projecting all sorts of garbage on everybody else, and I apologize if that's what I'm doing. But I'm saying in a perfect world, we don't want a 23% response rate. We want a 100% response rate. But we want, and if that's the case, and if we knew we had a 100% response rate, wouldn't we be very precise and very careful of who we spoke to? And it's just saying. So if you want to think of this as just a mental exercise, feel free. So here's what we got. I'm going to start with one of the people you talked to. Share this tab and thread. This is Mariah Driver. She showed up as one of your principal product managers in one of your early slides. I went, great. I have no idea who this person is. I'm only sort of kind of simply connected to these. I don't even know who these people are very much. So I'm going to use that person as a great example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to contact. No, not that one. I'm going to go to more, and I'm going to say save to PDF. I'm going to grab her profile, and I'm going to go into Perplexity, and I'm going to say, hey, based on this LinkedIn profile, which I'm about to upload, and anything else you can find about this person, what are the top 10 likely companies she would want to work at next? So it's going to look and read the profile. It's going to look at, that's an interesting name. So it's not like a James Ellis where there's a billion of us. There's an unusual set. Given the work history, given their location, it's giving Perplexity enough information to say, I'm not talking to the wrong person. And here's what it responds. Here are the 10 companies it thinks this person would most likely want to work for. Now, given that she's at Adobe, this isn't a surprising list. Patagonia is a little surprising, value centric. I wonder what it saw that made it interesting. Made it interesting to this person. Or Delta, there's an unusual that came up out of nowhere. Okay, so now that we know something, what we're doing is we're trying to understand if we are decided that Mariah is our target. And again, don't know Mariah. And if you're, for some reason, Mariah, you have tripped into this LinkedIn Live and you don't know what is going on. Hi, how are you? Welcome. We're all friends here. So if you want to target Mariah, exactly. If you want to target Mariah, you got to understand not what Mariah wants, but you need to understand her competitive set. If you are a small SaaS company and you want to hire Mariah, you got to understand that she's also thinking about Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Salesforce. That means you are competing against Google, Apple, Microsoft, Salesforce. That's some stiff competition in its own way. And if you just go, oh, this is a great job, Mariah will want it. Why? Why would Mariah want to talk to you when she's thinking about these companies? Okay, so that's fine. It's good to understand your competitive set. Now, what I would say then is say, based on that competitive set,
James, we can't see your screen. We can only see Mariah's LinkedIn profile. Go to
sorry, my bad.
Go for it.
Here we go. So thank you for the heads up. It's the one thing I don't like about Riverside is that it should follow me. It should know. Anyway, moving on. So here's Mariah's. Here's what it did. It said, this is who she is. This is what she's all about. She's got a strong track record in diversity, DEI, which is probably why Patagonia popped up. And then it says, here are the 10 companies she probably would want to work for next. HubSpot, Netflix, Patagonia, Cisco, Delta, Fidelity, along with
Fidelity. That's weird.
Yeah, isn't it? That's kind of nowhere. And she's Bay Area based, so that's really surprising. You know, these last couple are kind of interesting outliers, and they do kind of give some rationale, and that's fine. Remember, it's an LLM. It's back rationaling. It's doing its best to try to explain where its thinking came from, but it's still just a machine. It doesn't know. But it's better than just kind of going, Mariah's perfect. Let me see if she wants this job, which is never going to work. So what I'm going to say here is, based on this competitive set, why would Mariah want to work at Webflow? Now, why do I pick Webflow? Because I just happen to have done some work for Webflow, and I happen to have the employer brand, Webflow, that would help this LLM understand why someone would want to work there. So I upload the Word the document with all the branding and all the information, and I submit. It's going to read Mariah's profile, which it's already got. It's going to read the competitive set. It's going to read about Webflow. It might even actually search more about what's out on Webflow. And it's going to say, hey, this is why Mariah would be interested in working at this company, because it offers a distinctive combination of trust, autonomy, and deep commitment to diversity, DEI. Okay, now you have a very, very clear picture of what you should be talking about when you reach out to Mariah. It's about remote first, it's trust as an operating system, DEI, impact and innovation, brand and culture fit. And you might look, and at this point, this is when the art takes over. This is when you pull out your mental paintbrush and say, how would I pitch this in this way? This is giving you a very clear understanding of what Mariah is all about, what she wants, what she's looking at, and what messages might show up. And if you're feeling brave or bold, you might say, look, I just spent the last 15 minutes looking at your profile and running your data through an LLM and wondering why you might, if you could work at places like Microsoft and Google and Apple, what would make you interested in working at a smaller company like Webflow? And this is what it told me. Copy, paste. Now, couple things potentially happening there. Mariah might go, what do you mean you're spending all this time thinking about me? That's a little flattering. Come on, who doesn't like a little flattery now and then, right? Who doesn't? That works, that plays. And you would say, look, this is what we came up with. You might then follow it up with and say, look, just for my own edification, does this sound like you? Does this sound like a thing you would want to talk about? Did I get you right? And it's not a do you want a job, which is incredibly transactional, which puts people on the defensive, but instead it's saying, look, I'm going to show you my process, show you what I think I know about it. Please tell me where I'm wrong. And suddenly you are engaged in a dialogue about her professional needs, her professional motivations, where she might want to work next. And you are seeding why she might want to work at this other company that she heretofore may have not considered because it's small. May not have known about. Maybe it was smaller. Maybe it wasn't in that, it's like, it's not as prestigious as some of these other companies. Here's what's really going on. This, yes, is it 10, 15, 20 minutes of work? Yeah. To kick it around. Could you automate some of this a little bit? Maybe. But this is what it takes to really target top talent, to understand, not just say we care about your motivations, but to how do you connect those dots to express it such that Mariah goes, oh, I can see myself in that. Whether I like it or not is up to Mariah, but now she's making a more informed decision based on what she knows, what she wants, what she cares about, and what you're talking about. That is where all of this stuff is heading. This is how and look, Brian and I are friends, and we've talked a lot. We are big believers that there is a huge intersection between employer branding and sourcing that usually goes undiscussed. And this is where it connects. If you can target the right person, this is how you not personalize. That's bullshit. Personalizing is one of those buzzwords we throw on there. I'm talking about
is a token.
Creating. Exactly. It's the little code you drop in to say, Dear Mariah. I'm not talking about personalization. I'm talking about resonance. I'm talking about speaking to her like no other recruiter or sourcer has ever spoken to her, about understanding her, showing that you understand her, show that you've thought about her, show that you've done the deep research and done the hard work to understand what she might care about, and said, look, based on all this, you might be interested in this. Would you be interested in talking about that sort of thing? That's resonance. It's how you stand out. It's how you leverage platforms like Perplexity to truly target and get closer to that amazing but impossible 100% hit rate. Brian, tell me where I'm wrong or tell me where I'm full of it.
James, I would want to know how you build the subject. So I think the subject line for Mariah would be really important and be really something that needs to grab her attention. It's not going to be come work at Webflow, right? Like what the hell is Webflow? But
Yeah.
I think that if you take some of those traits that are important to her about DEI, remote first culture, a culture of innovation, and you, if you will, paint them out or run them through the LLM and ask the LLM,
Yeah.
what 10 subject lines would you use to hook an individual or to get them to click? Because
Yeah.
look, I run A/B testing on subject lines like it's nobody's
I
business,
have no doubt. No doubt.
right? Like, like I am, you got to have the data if you're making the decisions. You have it right there behind you. Strategy replaces effort. Okay. I'm going to say that strategy without data is like
It's a
taking a
guess.
blunt axe and swinging against a duck. Okay, no harm to ducks, but if you're trying to chop down a tree, you need to have a sharp axe and you need to know what a tree looks like.
Yeah. Aim at the right thing. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and look, I've been lately thinking about what's referred to as synthetic data, understanding it's like if I want to talk to a product manager in the Bay Area, I can get a ChatGPT or a Claude to manufacture 6, 8, 10 personas and test subject lines and test, would this work? Would you be care about this? Would this career site work for you? Would this outreach work for you? And start to figure out who it works for and who it doesn't. And then you can start to connect those dots to say, okay, it turns out that the subject lines I tend to focus on, or what I would say is, here's Mariah, here's everything you know about Mariah. Which of these personas is most like Mariah? Which do you think? Is she the activator? Is she the strategist? Is she the emoter? Who is she? And then target your subject lines to that. And what you might find, if you could see the bigger picture, you might find that the kinds of people who want to work for you or who should work for you or who would be perfect matches within the company tend to be of a certain type. They tend to be strategists. They tend to be go-getters. They tend to be thoughtful. They tend to be whatever it is, introverted, whatever. You might find that, and you might start to then take that as the next step and say, okay, if we know that about our target audience, let's change our career site. Let's change our outreach. Let's change our job postings to only speak to that audience because that's who we care about most.
I think that you have walked into something that people do not think about enough or do not think about often enough, right? Which is that message. I think of employer branding, that employer branding is meant to be a lighthouse to bring in the ships, right?
Yes.
Now, the reality of it is that it can bring in a ship that is a one person fishing boat, or it can bring in a yacht, right? But you've got to have that message, and you've got to be on the right coast. You've got to be in the right place. You've got to make sure that you're accentuating your value proposition and beaming that light because most employer branding is like that lighthouse, that it just spins around and what have you.
It attracts
This is
anybody.
shining a light.
We want to look good. Yeah.
Shining a light directly on to bring somebody into the harbor.
Yeah. That is kind of my world where I try to worry about. And that's where the whole lighthouse metaphor kind of falls apart for me, because a lighthouse is there actually to warn you of danger. But really, in our metaphor, it's attracting anybody. It could be a dinghy, it could be a yacht, it could be a cruise ship. And honestly, you want one of those and not the other two. So how do you build a lighthouse that shines such that it only attracts the people you want? And that's where employer branding stops being employer blanding and starts being something clear.
Oh, I like what you did there. I like what you did there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about being seen. It's about being found by the right people. So what do you say so that you are found by the people you want to be found by? That's really where that is. And I think these LLM tools make it super interesting to start to, not to do the thinking for us. Could you have done this without an LLM? Yeah, probably. Would it have taken you a day? Yeah, at least. What it's allowing you, what I find fascinating about the LLMs in my own work is that they allow me to kind of split my brain up. So I have the brain that's going, I'm doing the stuff, I'm doing the stuff, I'm doing the stuff. But there's another part of my brain that says, don't forget these 4 steps. Because when I'm doing the stuff, I just go send, just do the thing. And I need another part of my brain to say, don't forget, you need a call to action. Don't forget, you need an emotional hook. Don't forget, you need the stuff that we know rationally, but we forget when we're doing the work. And the LLM can be programmed to say, run through these steps to make sure I'm not forgetting any of my pieces. And it makes sure that I'm not missing out on opportunities just because I just forgot one of the little steps. That to me is where LLMs are super useful in my day to day. And Brian, how do you respond to that? Does that sound like you, or do you have a different way of thinking about it?
So I look at LLMs as a thought partner, right? Like
Mm.
it's outlining what needs to be done, what steps need to be executed. I will be very candid is that when I'm working on doing a presentation, I will video the presentation before I give it. I will load it into the LLM and I will say, well, actually, I'm using Dia, the browser Dia. I don't
Mm.
know if DIA.
Yep.
It's Mac only, but I will use the video and I will say, what could I have accentuated more? Where did I go fast? Where did I go slow? And I'm using it as a coaching and a thought partner to lay out those outlines, right? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is the business case that I'm kind of jumping through to deliver on my success and having those conversations at scale.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Brian, I got to go to Wreckfest. You got to go to, or you're going to, I'm seeing
I'm
you
not going
in
to.
Nashville, right?
I am not
Oh, you're
going to
not going.
Wreckfest. I am in
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
goodness.
I'm in Pittsburgh. I am at my in-laws' house. My daughter had fall break, so we are doing all the fall
Nice.
break things that you can do in Pittsburgh. I encourage you that if
Nice.
you have the opportunity to head on down to Nashville to go to Wreckfest, to go to Wreckfest. If you want to grab dinner in Pittsburgh, let me know. If you want to grab time on my calendar for us to freelance and to, I mean, not freelance, but to freestyle, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. I'm here. I'm excited. And I'm
Yep.
really grateful to James that he could make space for me and my nonsense and that I could help take you from better to best. Thank you so much,
Nope.
James.
No, Brian, thanks for being here. This whole series about identifying independence, the people who are out doing the amazing work, who are not associated with big brands and big agencies who, do whatever. Like, this is how we bring more good thinking out to the world. So, Brian, thanks so much for being here. And I highly encourage all of you to come find Brian. He is just this insane and just this smart as he sounds in this moment, as he is in every moment. He is amazing at what he does. So if you have an opportunity to hire him, please do. Please do. Otherwise, I'm at Employer Brand Labs, and that's where I am. And if you want to talk employer brand, that's what I do. So otherwise, I see you next week when I bring in the one and only Mike Pendito, and we are going to argue about recruiting. I can almost guarantee it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much, Brian Fink, the one and only. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next week.